Hi, this is Ceramic85. Today I'm showing how I replaced the brake shoes and wheel brake cylinder of the drum brakes on my Dodge Ram 1500. This is an 11-inch drum brake on a 9¼ inch axle used on Dodges, Chryslers, Jeeps and others. I noticed that there were oily residues on the inner side of the rear wheel. Most of the time, this indicates a leaky wheel cylinder. In addition, I had to top off the brake fluid from time to time. If you have this leaking brake fluid issue in the drum brake, then the brake shoes must also be replaced. So I ordered new brake shoes for about $30 and each wheel requires 2 pieces, so a total of 4 pieces for the rear axle, since you should always replace both rear brakes at the same time. Make sure that the new brake pads stay clean and don't come into contact with oily fluids. Of course, I also needed 2 new wheel cylinders, one for each side. These cost only about $10 a piece and they are identical for both sides. To work on the brake lines, I ordered this brake line wrench set for under $10. For this ram, I need the 3/8 inch wrench. First, I use the car jack to jack up the vehicle at the rear. Use a jack stands for safety. I loosen the lug nuts and take off the tire to have access to the drum. You can find these screws above the brake line fitting on the back side of the wheel. I spray some WD-40 on the screws so they'll be easier to loosen later. The drum is a little rusted on, but a few lightly taps with the hammer help. Now I can simply pull the drum off. Brake fluid can be seen in the drum. Inside the brake, everything is covered with brake dust and fluid. Also, the brake pads are covered in oil, so no wonder they don't function properly. It's helpful to take a picture before you start, to remember how to put it back together again. Before I take everything apart, I rinse off the reusable components with brake cleaner. So now I'll take the return springs off first. You can get a special tool for this, but I use pliers. It's important to remember which components are pointing to the front and which to the rear. In this case, the red spring points forward and the white backwards. In the next step, I remove the hold-down components consisting of spring, pin, and retainer. By pressing and twisting, the spring can be released and the pin can be removed from the back. In this case, they're different lengths, so they should not be interchanged. Now I simply remove the old brake shoes, including the rest of the components, and release the parking brake lever from the front brake shoe. You should also take a look at the parking brake cable at this point, and if it needs replacing, it should be done with this repair. Click on this link for a detailed repair on the parking brake cable. I'll show this link again at the end of this video. The brake shoes are held together at the bottom by the shoe spring and the adjuster screw. If you twist it around like this, it easily comes apart. The adjuster screw is very difficult to turn, which is not very good because the brake can't adjust itself like this. I remove all remaining components like the adjuster lever with the spring and the parking brake strut and clean everything. Don't forget the shoe guide also. Here we see the old wheel cylinder. I take out both links. On the back one, the boot is clearly damaged, that's why the brake fluid leaked out, which is a common failure. Now you can loosen and remove the cylinder screws and the brake line. With a few small taps, I loosen the cylinder from the support plate. Then I can unscrew the fitting completely, so that I don't have to bend the line unnecessarily. I clean the support plate where the new cylinder is going and immediately put the new one in place so that no more brake fluid escapes. Here is where I will attach the brake line, and these two holes are for the cylinder screws. I insert the new cylinder and connect the brake line fitting. I put anti-seize copper paste on the threads before I insert the cylinder screws. Now tightening the brake line fitting. I take the cap off of the bleed screw and wait until the brake fluid comes out. Now the brake fluid has filled the wheel cylinder and the air has been pushed out. However, a later bleeding of the brake line may be necessary. I close the bleed screw by tightening it and put the cap back on. Now it is about cleaning the support plate. A wire brush is helpful to remove the surface rust. I was able to get the adjuster screw out with the help of some WD-40 because a few threads were rusty. I rinsed the adjuster screw sleeve with oil. Then I brush the threads and rinse it off with some oil. As a corrosion protection, I apply anti-seize copper paste to the threads. Now the screw is very easy to turn. Also, it is very important that the toothed wheel is fully intact, otherwise automatic brake adjustment doesn't work. If you have any doubts, the component should be replaced. With sandpaper, I'll smooth down the spots where the brake shoes slide on the support plate. Clean it off and then put copper paste on as a corrosion protection and lubricant. All these small parts I would like to reuse again, but you can also replace them. I clean all the parts and put the links back into the cylinders first. Some oil makes that easier. The notches should be vertical. Here we have the new brake shoes. In this case, the surface of the front brake pad is a little smaller. I set the adjuster screw and the lower shoe spring on the new brake shoes. The adjuster lever has some moving parts, which I treat with copper paste. When applying the new brake shoes, the parking brake lever must be attached to the front brake shoe. The links should fit exactly into the notches on the brake shoes. The front brake shoe I now attach with the corresponding hold-down components. To do this, I put the spring on and insert the pin from behind through the support plate. The adjuster plate fell off before, so I'm putting it back on. Then I put the shoe guide on and connect the adjuster lever with the adjuster spring. Now the hold-down components of the rear brake shoe can be put on. The adjuster lever must be equipped with the lever spring. It easily clips into place. Now the parking brake strut and spring can be put back. I put it in with the spring end first to the corresponding notch of the rear brake shoe. Then on the other side, the brake strut has to go around the front brake shoe and the parking brake lever. I ensure that the cylinder link is guided exactly into this corresponding notch of the front brake shoe. Now the return springs can be reinstalled. First, I put in the red one, which belongs to the front brake shoe. The shorter white spring belongs to the rear. And hooks onto the adjuster spring. To make sure the springs don't slip off, I bent the ends down with pliers. Now all the brake parts are reinstalled. I make sure that nothing is missing and that all parts are sitting correctly. I clean the brake pads with brake cleaner since dirt, oil and copper paste could have touched the surface during assembly. I also clean the inside of the brake drum with brake cleaner. The wire brush helps to remove surface rust. The use of sandpaper roughens the surface and provides better braking performance later. Now the drum can be put back on . And this type of drum is tightened down together with the wheel and lug nuts. Now I only need to remove the jack stands and I'm done. The drum brake shown here now adjusts itself with the adjusting screw when the brake is used. Be careful, you might have to hit the brake pedal a couple times until the brakes are fully adjusted properly. While adjusting, you can hear the tooth wheel clicking in the drum. When it doesn't click anymore, your drum should be fully adjusted. For some brakes, you have to use the emergency brake to adjust the drum brakes. Now I hope this video helps you. Feel free to check out more detailed repair videos on my channel. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, this is Ceramic85 signing out.